Bears hired all three coordinators today. We break down all three of them next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And if you want to, download the podcast everywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Unbearable Sports. What's going on, Bears fans? Loaded show today. We got to break down all three coordinators the Bears got. And also, I went through Dennis Allen, and I really wanted to learn more about his defensive system. So I'll talk to you guys all about that a little bit later. And also, make sure you're subscribed. We have Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl coverage this week. So you want to stay tuned for all that. And if you're new to the show, we love the NFL draft here. I got a big board that I'm currently building out that you can download later on. So make sure to stay tuned. So that's enough talking. Let's get right into the coordinators. So we talked about this yesterday, but turns out things went a little bit faster than I expected. Dennis Allen officially announced today, like we said, probably just had to kind of go through the Rooney Rule, then officially hire Dennis Allen. So Dennis Allen in at defensive coordinator, Richard Hightower in at special teams coordinator, or back at special teams coordinator, and Declan Doyle, the big surprise of the group at offensive coordinator, the 28-year-old with his first offensive coordinator job. So for those out there on YouTube, what are you excited about? Like which coordinator are you pumped up about? Do you not like any of these hires? What do you think down below, right? Two out of three, right? I feel like 2 out of 3 people probably don't like too much, but let's talk about this. Let's break it down. First one, like we said, Richard Hightower, special teams coordinator. Now, there's not much that I want to say about this. Like, we already had him at special teams coordinator. Wasn't perfect. He wasn't great. He was a special teams coordinator. And I don't know. I always felt like our punt coverage, there was always someone kind of coming through the line, about to block the punt. Towards the end of the season, I felt like he got better, but yeah, I'm not like over the moon by this. I feel like a lot of us Bears fans are almost more frustrated with this. I kind of wanted Rizzy. I know a lot of us wanted him, the special teams coordinator for the Saints. Seemed to be someone that got on a lot of people, which I liked, but they end up keeping Richard Hightower. Hey, it's a special teams coordinator at the end of the day. But yeah, if you disagree, let me know. If you're not happy about it, let me know down in the comments, voice out there. But like I said, not much to talk about with Richard Hightower. So let's go over to the big hire. Declan Doyle, the 28-year-old. And this is someone, so big step. He got a Wikipedia page. We talked about this yesterday. From the span of yesterday to today, someone created him a Wikipedia page. So if it's one of you out there, kudos. He is now the offensive coordinator. Like we said, 28 years old, 4 years as an offensive assistant coach for the New Orleans Saints, and then 2 years as the tight ends coach for the Denver Broncos. And I don't think many people can even tell you much about Declan Doyle. I heard people that cover the Broncos that don't know much about Declan Doyle, just the tight ends coach. Like similar to how if someone asked us about Jim Dre, our tight ends coach, probably wouldn't know too much. But the reason why this is kind of seen with a lot of eyebrows is because of his lack of experience, but also because when you look at the tight ends that he coached, a lot of people drafted Greg Dulcich hoping that he was going to be this fantasy tight end of the year, ends up getting moved over to the New York Jets and doesn't have a great season with the Denver Broncos. But I think what might impress some people is just him kind of taking a undrafted player like a Lucas Krull and then him getting 19 catches, or a Nate Atkins and him getting 14 catches. Also, too, he's been around some of the college all-star games and stuff like that as a coach. So here's the thing. We don't know too much about him. And I think that the whole piece with this, with Doyle as a whole, is that this is a huge, huge risk. Like Ben Johnson, there must be something that they really like about him. And hopefully it pans out. We all hope that, but this is where it kind of gets me, is that this is a very big swing because, it's not like you had your choice of offensive coordinators. I didn't think that there was as many offensive coordinators available as we did last year. Like last year, I felt like we were breaking down so many different ones that that we could have gotten. Like there was Kubiak, there was Cliff Kingsbury, like there was a lot of offensive coordinators available. But I think with this round, I think we look at David Shaw. I think a lot of us thought that David Shaw was going to be that offensive coordinator. He brought a lot of experience, head coaching experience, and could probably add some discipline to this whole room. So I think that's where now you have this person who, who's younger than me that gets brought in. I think that's where you do face this with a lot of questions. And I know some people too, with Bobby Slowick being available, wanted him. Now, I did hear some rumors that Bobby Slowick, part of the reason why he was let go from the Texans was because he just simply, like, there was some disgruntlement internally, that there was some feuding that led to his release. So that just people weren't really on the same page anymore, and ultimately he had to just be let go. So that might be why Ben didn't want him. But Declan Doyle is going to be the person that I'm going to keep my eyes out for, my eyes, ears open, just to try and get any sort of nuggets on him, because right now, not a lot is out there. So you're just hoping maybe around coaching circles, this was one of these guys that was seen as an up-and-comer, because I don't know the last time a 28-year-old became an offensive coordinator this quick. So let's keep moving on. And enough of the special teams, enough of the offense. I want to talk more about Dennis Allen, because to me, this is a great hire. I was just about to say home run, but Dennis Allen to me is exactly what you want. And we say this every single time we talk about him. Former head coach, former two-time head coach. And you want that experience with Ben Johnson as the first-time head coach, so he's someone that you can bounce ideas off of. And you also look at the coaching staff. Al Harris as the defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator. That's a good defensive staff so far. And then Dennis Allen's probably going to choose his defensive line coach, linebacker coach, safeties coach, but really that front seven. We'll talk about this more with the defense, but something that really stood out. I went through all his different years and looked at the roster and kind of just sliced through it to see what changed from, because back in 2015, this team his defenses weren't looking too hot. They were one of the worst defenses in the league, and then they got better and better and better. And something that really stood out to me was that defensive line, that front seven that they just kept bolstering and making better and better. And I think that's what Dennis Allen is really going to focus in on with these coaches. But something I also like too, Aaron Glenn used to be a coach underneath Dennis Allen. So you have that kind of Aaron Glenn connection with Ben Johnson, and Dennis Allen. So I think that that's at least kind of nice that, hey, what type of a system do you run? Close to in Aaron Glenn. And also to a 4-3 system. So even though in this day and age, you don't really operate a lot out of base, I don't think that you're going to have that crazy of like, hey, these defensive ends, Montez Sweat is a big D end. He's not really an outside linebacker, so we got to move on from him, right? You're not really going to see anything like that. A lot of these players should be in that exact system. It should be good from that system. But overall, I really like the Dennis Allen hiring. It's one of my favorites that was out there. Chico was kind of like my second option just with the head coaching experience. And I saw some comments out there. Some of you agree like with just Chico. But let's go over to the defensive breakdown. So I already kind of alluded to this. But like I said, I went through just the years and was looking more about it, just what happened with New Orleans. Because when you look early on, when I looked at the points expected, the advanced metric of points expected for his defenses. And in 2015, for the Saints, he was last, then 29th, right? Not good. Then all of a sudden in 2017, it burst up to 19, then 18, then 14. Then in 2020, goes to 8th in points expected, 1st in points expected in 2021, and then 10th in 2022 when he became the head coach. So that last season as the DC, you saw the best defense for points expected. And then for those out on YouTube, you can see all the other stats with yards and touchdowns and points and other things like that. So my whole question was, why did we see kind of this typical arc, right? Why did we see everything kind of going up? Because what was going on with the roster? Now, way back in 2015, when they had the worst defense, Just so everyone knows that's looking out there, I sorted this by total number of snaps just to kind of get an idea of who's playing a lot of snaps for their defense. Now, they had Brendan Browner, who that was his last year in the league. They had the old John Jenkins, defensive tackle. They had Kevin Williams, his last year in the league. Jarius Byrd, when he was trying to figure something out. The defense wasn't good. They still had Cam Jordan, as the edge. But when we start looking more and more throughout these years, Cam Jordan still like big focal point in the Saints defense. Reminds me a lot of Montez Sweat. Bigger, right? Cameron Jordan is a large defensive end, strong defensive end, similar to a Montez Sweat. Cam Jordan, I will say, is better, definitely, but similar kind of prototype, just larger defensive end. But when you look throughout this too, you see some, like, as they start getting better and better. First off, the 2017 draft for the Saints is absolutely insane, getting Marcus Williams, and that's when they also got Trey Hendrickson, and they also got Lattimore. They just got some amazing players in that draft. But what you start to slowly see is that the safeties, the defensive ends, the defensive line, because now we get into 2018 and some of the big players, what we started to see is now bring in a lot of this defensive line, the front seven, David Onyemata, Sheldon Rankins, Marcus Davenport. You see, even Alex Okafor was doing pretty good stuff for them, where he kind of reminds me like this doesn't do crazy things, just kind of gets the job done at the defensive line. Yet again, all housed with Cam Jordan and good linebackers. AJ Klein was very good, former Bears great, and DeMario Davis. So what you see with some of these, like, who are the main people in this defense? And then last but not least, the 2021. When you look at that defense as well, DeMario Davis at the focal point, but then still defensive line with Onyemata, Davenport. And then, it just really kind of focuses in that the line, the front seven, is key to his system. And when we think about what this team needs, what this Bears team needs, right? The secondary we feel good about. And Tyreek Stevenson, some other news, Tyreek Stevenson already out there, getting coached up. Al Harris just sent him out there to say, hey, you need to make bigger plays. I love it. I love that he's trying to hold Tyreek Stevenson accountable. You have a new coach in there. You got to listen to me type of deal. And this is kind of your last thing because it's put up or shut up. Otherwise, you're out on the curb. People probably don't want to hire you. So what I really looked at was just his system. Because also I hear that he's a big blitz happy team, which is actually incorrect. Because when you look throughout it, when I go all the way back to 2018, because this was the earliest I could find stats on blitz rate, he was kind of middle of the pack in blitzing. Then they actually blitzed the 9th most in 2019, middle of the pack in 2020. And then you go to 2021 and 2022, where they blitzed the 6th least. What that shows me is that, hey, when we don't necessarily have the horses up front, you blitz on it like a normal team, right? They're not blitzing. But when they have the horses up front, that is what they want. They have that, then they're not going to be blitzing as much. So also too, it just shows Dennis Allen the importance that he sees inside of this defensive line. You need a good line. And also, what did Ben Johnson know? Ben Johnson comes from one of the best offensive lines in all of the league. I think and hope and pray that this is going to be a coaching staff that focuses on the trenches. And hopefully too, Ryan Poles focuses on the trenches. I'm not talking about signing some backup offensive or trading for a backup offensive line or backup guard and then moving him to center like we did with Lucas Patrick and also Ryan Bates. Let's get some real people in here, real people movers, real on the defense and the offense. I hope that this is a change in the overall system. So let me know what you think, though, down below in the comments. Are you excited about these hires? Are you not so excited about these hires? If so, just leave a little comment, like and subscribe also if you're out there on YouTube, and also download the podcast. You can just listen to it everywhere you go, including at work. With that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a